between the PM and Liberal Democrat Senator David Leyonhjelm this week. It looks like members of the coalition will have an opportunity to restore the ACT's and the Northern Territory's rights to pass voluntary euthanasia laws. Now, there has been a 20-year-long ban on territories having self-determination when it comes to assisted suicide. They haven't had the power to dictate their own laws. Instead, they've had to follow the beck and call of the national legislation and therefore afforded really no say on the issue. Many reckon this has regulated or relegated rather the territories to a lower status than states, but a notion put forward by Senator Leyonhjelm may see territories wrestle back that power and get some much wanted say on the topic. Now, obviously, the issue of euthanasia, it's a contentious one. It has many religious, moral and ideological layers, I think it's fair to say, and it is a debate that can get swept up in the periphery and can absolutely dominate discussion. But David Leyonhjelm reckons a majority of Australians support the right of individuals to end their lives at the time of their choosing. And I think he's spot on there. He's on the line to talk about this and other matters. Senator, I trust you well.
G'day, Luke.
So where are we with this? You've done a deal, have you, with the Prime Minister, and it now looks likely that there'll be a discussion and then a vote in Parliament sometime coming up?
Yes, we had a very important motion approved in the Senate yesterday, which means that for 3 days, when we return in August, starting on the Tuesday, the 14th of August, through to the Thursday, the number one order of business will be debate or dealing with my bill. Now, my bill is called Restoring Territory Rights, Assisted Suicide Bill. Now, what it will do is not legalise assisted suicide. That's not a Commonwealth responsibility. It can't do it.
Yep.
It's a state responsibility. But what it will do, if it passes, is enable the Northern Territory and the ACT to legislate on assisted suicide if they want to.
Okay.
So my bill is not actually specific to assisted suicide, but of course a lot of people are interpreting it that way.
Yeah, indeed, of course they will, and that will muddy it to some extent. Interesting to me, David, is the fact that you're a New South Wales Senator, but this is essentially on behalf of territories. I suspect, given your strong libertarian values, you've been lobbied. Have you? How did it come about that you got involved here?
There's not much else I can do on this issue. It is an issue that I feel quite strongly about from a libertarian perspective.
Yeah.
And there's not much else I can do about it. As I said, in the Constitution, this issue doesn't belong to the Commonwealth, therefore it remains with the states. And the only thing that the Commonwealth has done in this area is to stop the territories from legislating on it, which I think is unreasonable. The territories should be left alone to run their own race.
Yep.
And so it actually was something that I started back in 2015, not long after I came into the Senate. I said, if there's something I can do on this issue, I will do it. I'm old enough to remember when the Commonwealth legislated to ban the Northern Territory and the ACT from legislating on assisted suicide.
Was this Kevin Andrews?
It was Kevin Andrews. And his bill is commonly called the Andrews Bill.
Yeah. And
it was a private member's bill. So he's in the House of Reps, so they're called members there. In the Senate, they're called private senators' bills. So he introduced a private member's bill. It was voted on as a conscience vote, a free vote, in both the House of Reps and the Senate, and it passed. It became law. So it wasn't a government-sponsored bill.
Yeah.
So it's entirely appropriate that we deal with repealing that as a private bill. It'll be a private senator's bill in my case, but the same thing. It'll start off in the Senate.
Yeah.
If it passes in the Senate, the deal I have done with the Prime Minister is that he won't stand in the way of me finding somebody to pick it up in the House and bring it forward and have a conscience vote on it there as well.
Right.
So if it gets a majority in the House, having achieved a majority in the Senate, it will then become law.
Okay.
And the Northern Territory and ACT will be free to legislate on assisted suicide.
Let me just ask the obvious unintended consequences. So you give them power, not that they shouldn't have power to start with. I'm almost answering my own question, but I'll give you the opportunity. We're essentially restoring the ability for the governments and the territories to vote on just this issue or a range of issues, do you think, that might now come forward subsequent to your bill being successful?
No, it's specific to assisted suicide.
Okay.
So they're elected democracies. They have proper elections. They have parliaments and so forth. So that will be a matter for their elected parliaments to decide. But it's just on assisted suicide that my bill will refer to, because that was specifically prohibited as a power to them by the Andrews Bill.
Gotcha. Has someone in the House put up their hand to say, I'll have a go at that?
No, not yet. And to be frank, I haven't sought anybody to take on that role yet. Until I knew that I was going to get that motion through yesterday, it would have been unfair to put them in that situation. I couldn't have shared with them what I was intending to do in the Senate because I needed a little bit of element of surprise. And I was gathering numbers to make sure my motion would go through and all that sort of stuff.
Do you think it will go through the Senate?
My bill?
Yes.
In August? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident. It's not an open and shut case by any means, but I am fairly confident. There are two types of people, I think, who will vote for it. There are those who support assisted suicide anyway, and they will see it in those terms, and they will vote for it accordingly. But there are also probably, I'm pretty sure there are some who are not in favour of assisted suicide but are in favour of the territories being able to decide their own future.
Gotcha.
And so I think, between the two of those groups of people, I think there'll be a majority.
Indeed. And I guess, does it matter to you it would matter to you who then takes it up in the House, but just in terms of getting it across the line, it's almost like it would need to be co-sponsored by a person from each of the majors, or do you think someone on the crossbenches in the House might be able to get it done?
That's a good question too. I don't know yet. I'm having a little think about who I think would be the most effective and the most willing to take it on in the House. It may well be that someone will approach me.
That's unlikely to be Kevin Andrews, of course.
Yeah, no, I don't think Kevin will do it.
Yes.
But there are a few names that are floated about, so it may be that someone will pick it up. But it's still a little early because I only got my motion through yesterday to allow the Senate to debate it. So we have a bit of time yet before we have to worry.
Indeed.